The golden numbers shine. The years have passed, life's mellowed to the acme of its time.
Buddy Hackett was one of comedy's most unpredictable stars. With his rubbery expressions, raspy voice, and fearless humor, he became a legend of late-night television, appearing on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson nearly 80 times. On camera, Buddy and Johnny looked like close friends, laughing effortlessly together night after night. But according to Buddy, the truth behind the curtain was far more complicated. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Prestige Buzz, and hit the bell notification so you never miss our next story. Before the world knew him as Buddy Hackett, he was Leonard Hacker, a kid growing up in a hard-working Jewish family in Brooklyn. Life wasn't easy. As a child, he developed Bell's palsy, leaving him with a facial droop and slurred speech. Instead of hiding those traits, he turned them into part of his comedy style. Even in high school, Leonard loved entertaining people. During summers in the Catskills, he worked as a tuner, keeping vacation crowds laughing non-stop. His first performance was a complete disaster. He later joked he didn't get a single laugh. But failure only pushed him harder. After serving 3 years in the U.S. Army during World War II, Leonard returned home determined to make it in comedy. Working at a Brooklyn nightclub called the Pink Elephant, he reinvented himself as Buddy Hackett. The new name came with a new confidence, and soon Buddy was performing everywhere from Las Vegas to Los Angeles. Hollywood quickly noticed his unique energy. In 1950, he appeared in a comedy short film called King of the Pins, hilariously demonstrating how not to bowl. The performance impressed studio executives so much that Buddy reportedly received an offer that shocked Hollywood history fans for decades, a chance to join the Three Stooges. After Curly Howard's death, the group needed a replacement. Buddy later confirmed he met with Moe Howard and Larry Fine to test the chemistry. But in the end, he turned down the opportunity because he believed his comedy style didn't fit their slapstick formula. He chose to gamble on himself instead. That decision paid off. By the 1950s and 60s, Buddy Hackett became one of television's favorite guests. He appeared on major variety shows, game shows, and talk shows across America. Audiences loved his fearless, unpredictable humor. He could tell outrageous stories while making even the toughest hosts lose control laughing. One of those hosts was Johnny Carson. Buddy became one of Carson's most frequent guests ever, appearing 78 times on The Tonight Show. Their chemistry looked effortless. Buddy would wander into hilarious stories, and Carson often laughed so hard he could barely recover. Some of Buddy's appearances became legendary, especially his long-form storytelling routines that left audiences crying with laughter. But off-camera, Buddy said Johnny Carson was a completely different person. According to Hackett, the warm, relaxed man viewers saw every night was carefully controlled. Behind the scenes, Carson was private, distant, and extremely difficult to truly know. Buddy once admitted that even after all those appearances, he never felt close to Johnny personally. When the show ended, Buddy explained, the wall went back up. Carson, according to Hackett, didn't really have close friends in show business. He had professional relationships. He guarded his private life carefully and kept emotional distance from almost everyone around him. Buddy also revealed Carson had a fiercely competitive side. The host loved comedians who could entertain audiences, but only if they remembered whose show it was. If a guest overshadowed Carson or pushed too hard for attention, they could quickly feel the famous Carson ice. Many comedians feared it. Buddy survived because he understood the balance perfectly. He knew how to be wild and unforgettable without threatening Carson's role as the king of late night. That ability kept him welcome on the couch for decades. And Buddy wasn't the only one to notice Carson's colder side. One of the most famous feuds in television history involved Joan Rivers. Carson had treated Joan like a protege, regularly inviting her to guest host The Tonight Show. But when she accepted her own late-night program on a competing network in 1986, Carson felt betrayed. He cut her out of his life completely and never spoke to her again. Even legendary entertainers struggled with Carson behind the scenes. Bob Hope constantly appeared on the show to promote projects, but Carson reportedly resented how scripted and impersonal those appearances felt. Wayne Newton once confronted Carson directly after years of jokes aimed at him. According to reports, Newton warned Carson face-to-face to stop the insults or deal with the consequences. Carson stopped. Former associates described the late-night icon as lonely, moody, and deeply private. Off-camera, he could be easy to offend and difficult to work with. Yet millions of viewers never saw any of that. To America, Johnny Carson remained charming, smooth, and endlessly likable. Buddy Hackett understood both versions of the man. Despite his observations, Buddy never seemed bitter about Carson. In fact, he viewed him almost tragically, a man who gave everything to television audiences while keeping nearly everyone in his real life at arm's length. While Buddy thrived on openness and chaos, Carson controlled everything carefully. One comedian invited audiences into his world with loud stories and goofy expressions. The other protected himself behind a desk and a perfect smile. Away from television, Buddy's own life was surprisingly warm and grounded. In 1955, he married Sherry Cohen, a Brooklyn dance teacher he had met years earlier in the Catskills. The couple built a lasting marriage and raised 3 children together. They eventually settled in Malibu, California, but for a time even lived in a mansion once owned by notorious mob boss Albert Anastasia. Buddy also had interests many fans never expected. He collected firearms, loved target shooting, and enjoyed skiing and golf. Yet beneath the tough hobbies was a generous side devoted to charity and animal welfare. Later in life, Buddy and Sherry became passionate about rescuing stray cats. In 2003, they officially established the Singita Animal Sanctuary in California's San Fernando Valley, dedicating themselves to helping abandoned animals. Buddy's legacy also lived through his son, Sandy Hackett. Inspired by his father from childhood, Sandy entered the entertainment world early. He eventually spent years touring with Buddy as his opening act, road manager, and closest companion. Buddy taught his son everything he knew about timing, storytelling, and commanding a stage. Sandy later built a successful career producing live comedy showcases and creating his own touring Rat Pack tribute production. Through his work, Buddy's influence continued reaching new audiences long after the comedy legend slowed down. But by the 1990s, Buddy's health began declining. He suffered from severe heart disease but refused bypass surgery. He also battled diabetes and eventually suffered a stroke shortly before his death. On June 30, 2003, Buddy Hackett passed away at his Malibu Beach home at the age of 78. The comedy world lost one of its most fearless performers. But what made Buddy unforgettable wasn't just his humor. It was his honesty. He wasn't afraid to tell the truth about Hollywood, even when discussing someone as powerful as Johnny Carson. In the end, Buddy Hackett exposed something many people had long suspected. The beloved king of late night was far more complicated than the smiling television host audiences welcomed into their homes every evening. Johnny Carson ruled television with charm and wit. But behind the curtain, according to Buddy, stood a man who trusted very few people and kept almost everyone at a distance. And perhaps that's why Buddy Hackett stood out so much in Carson's world. In an industry full of guarded personalities, Buddy remained loud, emotional, unpredictable, and completely himself. Even decades later, his stories still make people laugh. And his reflections on Johnny Carson continue giving fans a rare glimpse behind one of television's most carefully protected masks. Thanks for watching Prestige Buzz. If you enjoyed this story, leave your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Prestige Buzz, and hit the bell notification for more fascinating Hollywood stories and hidden truths from entertainment history.